Spencer, it has been announced Chris Eubank Jr. will fight Conor Benn October 8 in the O2 here in London. The man Jordan, somewhat underwhelmed by it. Are you more than happy about it?
Look, it's a massive fight. You know, this touches outside of your boxing fans just because of the history of their fathers, the rivalry of their fathers. You know, there's a lot of interest in this fight. I understand where Simon's coming from. We've had this conversation. You know, it's all about these guys being totally different weights. Conor Benn obviously is doing his thing in the welterweight division, 147 pounds. And Chris Eubank is boxing now in the middleweight division, which is 160 pounds, but he's come down actually from the super middleweight division of 168, where he boxed George Groves and others in the World Boxing Super Series. So I think that, listen, it's a massive fight. It's a huge fight. You can't say that it isn't. I think when their fathers boxed, there was 15.8 million people that tuned in to watch that. They both become British icons. They're still huge names. I agree. And I think the build-up to this is going to be insane. And
well, presumably you have to think Simon Eubank Jr. wants to win it for the Eubank name. Conor Benn wants to win it for the Benn name. Conor Benn joins us live. Conor, how are you?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Very good, mate. Listen, you are up for this, I take it, in no small measure. You want to get into this. You want to get your hands on Eubank Jr. and you want to win it for the Benn name alone, I would think.
Most definitely. I mean, the last fight was a draw. We all know it wasn't a draw. And, you know, it's time I set the score straight.
Yeah, Conor, I mean, listen, a lot of people are going to be wondering why you've taken this fight. Like, you box at 147 at the welterweight division, and you're doing unbelievable things there. You've shown an incredible improvement. You're really well ranked, and possibly on the verge of having a world title shot in that division. So what made you take this fight at this catch weight of 157 with Chris Eubank? Is it just the history of the family name, or, you know, how did it come about?
Well, listen, there's many reasons. The world titles are tied up at the minute. I'm top 5 every governing body. You have obviously the likes of the people. I want to fight Furman, Ugas, Jose Ramirez, Barrios. We made offers to them, not interested. Maybe promotional, financial, whatever it is, that weren't the right decision for them. And Eubanks was amongst them names of the fights materialising, and that made progress really quick. And you know, I didn't want no takeover fight. I didn't want a fight to bide me time for now and just have another one of them fights. I wanted a big fight next, and a Eubanks fight come up, and, you know, I believe it makes sense. It's a legacy fight. It's a massive fight, and it's a fight that can happen now.
How difficult was it to make this fight? Because we know that there was a lot of toing and froing with the weights. You know, you've agreed now on 157. Is there a rehydration clause in that? Because obviously Eubank is much bigger than you.
Let's get clear though, Spence, because everyone keeps coming out with, I'm trying to weight drain him and not. He suggested the weight.
Right.
He and his team suggested the weight. Now, be a man of your word and make the weight. Mm-hmm. That was the issue. Is he suggested the weight. We agreed. We were happy with the weight. I mean, if you knew what I was weighing now and how I look now and how I feel now, you'd be very, very surprised. So it was a matter of him actually making a weight. So there was heavy fines attached that we wanted to make, so he makes sure he makes the weight, and clearly he had no intention of making the weight whatsoever.
That's what I was going to ask you, Conor, right? Do you know what I was going to ask you about this? The fight's been made at 157. I've seen that there's a penalty clause of, say, 100 grand per pound or whatever else. But with the money that you'll both be receiving, what about if Eubanks goes, you know what, I don't care about giving up 300 grand. I want to come in at 160 anyway. What would happen if he done that?
He can't do that. He can't do that because there's many things. Because there's things in place that he can't do that. So I ain't got to go into detail, but he'll make the weight.
Yeah, I mean, we've heard, Conor, that Tony Sims is pushing back on that and saying that they'll pull you out of the fight. I mean, listen, I'm a huge admirer of yours, Conor, because you know I am. I've watched your career. I'm very interested in you as a person. I worry for this fight because the last time a welterweight stepped up and fought a middleweight, it damaged their career in Kell Brook. It damaged, and Gennady Golovkin is not Chris Eubank Jr., I know that. But Chris Eubank is a big middleweight. You are on a trajectory that I think will get you a world title. And I worry for you stepping up in a situation where there's no loss for you here. Even if you lose, you'll be able to say, I fought a middleweight, and necessarily I fought a guy that's bigger than me. Eubank Jr., I'm not such a big admirer of, because all we ever listen to is who he's going to fight for a world title, and he never does. I worry career-wise, Conor, that this puts you in a way of jeopardy that possibly you don't need to be. I know you think you can win this fight, and there's a distinct possibility that you may. But for me, as an outstanding welterweight, I worry that this is not a fight besides leveraging the Eubank Benn name and getting a big paycheck. That's what I worry about, Conor.
This is more than a paycheck for me, Simon. I get paid very well. I have plenty of paydays ahead of me. I'm 25.
Indeed.
But I do believe, I don't know how much longer Chris has got. I feel like I'm coming into my prime. I feel like I'm strong. And as I speak confidently, I will beat him. I believe I do beat him. I want people to say, I beat him then, not after he's had coming off the back of 3 losses or the back of the tail end of his career where people know he's finished. He's got the job done his last couple fights, but I believe I am capable of beating Chris and whatever it is he brings to me. When you weigh it up, is he more explosive than me? No. I don't think he's a better boxer than me. That's my opinion. He seems caught in between styles. He does he really want to fight anymore? Or does he want to be out playing poker in Vegas? I don't know. He's fighting a young, hungry fighter who's really coming in and bringing the heat. And the weight thing for me ain't an issue, I can assure you now.
Conor, we well remember what your dad thought of Eubank. What do you think of Chris Eubank Jr.?
Well, the apple don't fall far from the tree, really, does it? I say that in the nicest way possible. He is a carbon copy of his dad. And whether I like it or not, I am... I'd probably say a tamer version, but I am just like my dad. And, our approach is to everything. Our approach is to, we're legend sons. His approach to it has been completely different to my approach.
Conor, do you know what? I hosted an event with your dad, actually, when your dad and Chris Eubank were doing a tour. I hosted one of those events that happened in Hertfordshire, and you was there, actually. And they seem to have put that rift behind them. They seem to have sort of buried that grudge that they had between each other, that rivalry they had for years and years and years, and they seem to put that to bed. Will this spark it off again? Because, I think that the build-up to this one is going to be insane, not just with you and Eubank Jr., but with your dads as well. Do you think
Spence,
that will spark that rivalry again?
No, Spence, that rivalry's always been there, mate. Don't be fooled.
that was just purely money and doing the tour,
Don't be fooled. That's always there. We were sitting in one of the Q&As, one of the shows, and Eubanks was sitting there, and Eubanks started telling me to walk out to this tune, and my dad's sitting there.
That's the one I done, mate. That was the one.
Yeah. Was you sitting there? Was you sitting there?
I was hosting it. Yeah.
Oh, mate.
I was sitting between them both.
And what did he say? You should walk out to a tune.
He said I should walk out to this song, and it was like a proper eccentric tune. And my dad's like, "No, he's walking out to Dangerous, mate. Like, why are you trying to?"
It was mad.
Oh, it's the funniest thing, So that rivalry's never going to go.
Conor, how'd you get at Eubank Jr.? How'd you beat him?
I believe I'm relentless. When I train, I've been up at 2:30 a.m. this morning running. My desire, my will to win, my heart, my work ethic, my explosiveness. I will go in there and show no respect. I will go in there and do it, set about him the way I do and the way I have every single one of my opponents. Apply pressure for the whole 12. Apply complete pressure.
Do you know what, Conor? Like, I saw an interview that you done saying that you think you can be the first man to stop him. Now, George Groves, who was a big super middleweight and heavy-handed, he couldn't do it. Billy Joe Saunders, he pushed to the wire, and that was quite a close fight as well. But do you think that you can? Do you believe that you can actually go out there and you can knock Chris out?
Timing is everything in boxing. It really is. You know that, Spence.
Yeah.
Timing is everything, and I believe I can. I believe I'm coming into my prime. You got to remember, you guys don't see me in the gym every day. You don't see me sparring middleweights, super middleweights. You don't see how I get on with that sparring. You don't even know what I'm currently weighing. So, as far as I'm concerned, you lot will see October 8th, and I believe in what I'm about, what I stand for, what I represent, who I am.
But Conor, you surely accept that he will pose more than a considerable threat to you.
Oh, most definitely. But then so does everyone else. Top 5, the sort of fights that I want now. So does Furman. So does Ugas. So does any of them boys. So does Jaron Ennis, Virgil Ortiz. So does Spence Crawford. They all pose their threats. You're now talking. I don't place Chris up there as a great boxer as any of the names I've just mentioned. What he does have is size.
Should we be right then to indulge in a bit of deja vu with more than good reason? We're in another situation where Ben doesn't like Eubank and Eubank doesn't like Ben.
I ain't gonna fake nothing. If it depends on his approach. We are complete opposites anyway. You know, we off camera. We were standing there in Brighton. I went to go see my pal Scott and Tom Welch, and he's gone, I'm going Vegas. I said, what are you going Vegas for? He's gone, life, my friend, life. And I just looked at him. I thought, mate, what sort of response is that?
Well, I mean, he's not.
What?
He's not going to do. I mean, Chris Eubank is a showman. I'm not a huge admirer of him, Conor. I respect him as a fighter, but I'm not a huge admirer of the constant talk about having world titles, but they're always lacing with how much money he's earned out of the ring rather than what he's actually achieved in it. But I don't think in this situation you're going to have press conferences like you had with Liam Williams, where he dances rings around him and makes him look silly verbally. You're going to have some interesting press conferences, aren't you?
I don't know. I am what I am.
Well, you're strong orally. You're capable of holding a good conversation, aren't you?
Well, in actual fact, Conor, it starts tomorrow because you're both in this studio on the breakfast show tomorrow morning. So sitting shoulder to shoulder, how are you going to feel?
I'm not really bothered. He's a man in front of me that I've got to beat. There's a lot of history there between the old men, and his name always gets linked with mine, even from early days in my career. So you know, this is really a fantasy fight and one for the public. I know Simon's concerned about how it may stunt my career. I don't believe it does. You know, the difference between me and Brook and Golovkin. First off, Eubanks ain't Golovkin, and I'm in the gym every day. I'm in the gym out of camp. Even when I'm out of camp, I'm in shape.
But also, in fairness to that observation, Conor, Kell Brook was a world title holder at that time, so you're not Kell Brook at this stage. So the reasons why I'm drawing a parallel is that your journey is still on its way, and I've got little doubt you'll win a world title, but at that stage, Kell Brook was an established world champion.
But timing's everything.
Agreed.
Timing's everything. So say Eubanks fights whoever and loses his next 2 fights. Well then, what does that do for the fight? It does nothing for this fight.
You're not going to be psyched out in any way tomorrow morning in this studio, are you?
No.
By him?
Say that again, sorry?
You're not going to allow yourself to let him get the better of you in this studio tomorrow morning, are you?
No, mate.
Conor feeds off that stuff, Jim. Trust me.
Conor, is it interesting for you to break away? I mean, one of the things that people draw, and I don't want it for you, and you shouldn't want it for yourself. You're your father's son, but you're going to be a champion in your own right. And to shed yourself away from your father, if you go into this fight and you beat Eubank, which is your innate belief, then will you be pleased that it will stop being Conor Benn, Nigel Benn's son? It'll just be Conor Benn.
Nah, man. I mean, listen, my dad.
You're happy with that, are you?
I am where I am because of my dad. Well, I say that, but he's opened doors for me. You know, if I live in my dad's shadow forever, who else can say their dad's a legend? Who else can say that?
Great answer, Conor. Great answer. And Conor will be in studio tomorrow morning for the breakfast show, and he'll be sitting beside the man Eubank Jr. Conor, thank you so much for joining us. We're coming up to 12 noon.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.